Over the 8 years of Fortnite history, there's been a whole lot of drama for us at home to keep up with. Anything from drop spot beef to scams to even hacking can blow up across the entire community. It'd be impossible to cover every minor incident, so today we're just going to be covering my personal favorites. Starting with the Repulse incident. Repulse was a pro Fortnite player hailing from OCE all the way back in Chapter 1. In his first ever recorded tournament, he placed 9th, which is pretty impressive for a career that was just starting. In the World Cup qualifiers, he placed in the top 10 5 times. 7th in FNCS finals, 8th in FNCS finals, 9th in FNCS finals, 2nd in FNCS Invitational, and a 1st place in FNCS Grand Finals. You get the idea. Repulse was a force to be reckoned with, not just on OCE, but the entire world. But unfortunately, in 2021, Repulse decided this was the end. And he ended his career with a solo cash cup where he placed 1,288th. But 2 years later, he was back after playing a skin tournament and a solo victory cup, which were just a warm-up. He hopped into FNCS and absolutely popped off, never placing outside of the top 20. And eventually, he earned himself a spot in Grand Finals. But there was a bit of a problem. This wasn't Repulse playing. Actually, it was now a pretty notorious hacker named Forbes. See, Repulse decided to allow Forbes to use his account to play in tournaments and hopefully negate the anti-cheat. Forbes then decided, screw it. I'm gonna qual for FNCS Grand, a LAN tournament. But now, they had a problem. People knew what Repulse looked like. He'd been to LAN tournaments before, which meant no one could go in his place. So, an ex-Fortnite pro who hadn't touched the game in 2 years had to play in one of the most prestigious tournaments in all of esports. But they wouldn't get that close. On the 12th of October, before any official games had taken place, Repulse and his duo Jace were disqualified and immediately deported from Denmark. But that wasn't all. Epic Games went on to sue Repulse, forcing him to not only pay back all of the prize money he'd unfairly earned, but also post a public apology on his own YouTube channel. After Repulse, I think Epic's message of zero tolerance is clear, which is another theme that carries on next up in the Bucky incident. Bucky is a well-known content creator and pro player who began his career on the NA East region. His YouTube channel took off after he qualified to the World Cup with help from his dad. Since then, Bucky's channel has taken off and amassed 416,000 subs, and he's been signed to a very well-known org named Dignitas. In 2023, he even qualified to the FNCS Global Championship. But before the event took place, just like Repulse, Bucky was disqualified and immediately deported. But don't worry, this guy...
I literally cannot. How?
Definitely wasn't hacking. In fact, the reason for his disqualification is still widely unknown. At the time, people speculated it could have been due to him drinking and smoking on stream, which was against the rules. Some even thought it was due to him streaming shirtless. Initially, Bucky suspected that it was due to him playing around with the PC settings and enabling something that wasn't allowed. All we received from Epic was that Bucky violated paragraph 8 of the rules, which covers the behavior Epic expects from all of their pro players. Unfortunately, we never got further clarity, but it's clear Epic was firm on their message of zero tolerance to anyone that breaks the rules. Next up is something completely different, because it wasn't a rule broken on Fortnite or at an official event. This time, it all took place where else than Twitter.com. This is the Clix incident. Clix needs no introduction. He's been a huge name in the Fortnite scene ever since he qualified for solos and duos in the Fortnite World Cup. After that, he's been a force to be reckoned with on the NA region. And he even owns his very own org called XEP. But it hasn't all been easy. In May of 2021, Clix sent out a tweet that was less than family friendly. This tweet made a few in the community a little uncomfortable. and Epic quickly noticed. They decided to immediately remove Clix's creator code, and at the time, we were under the impression that it would be permanent. This was a huge financial blow to Clix, not only due to the thousands he'd earned being locked away, but the thousands more he would have earned had he had his creator code. After the incident, Clix made a statement, taking responsibility and acknowledging his mistake in making the tweet. And since then, Epic reinstated his creator code. But this definitely set a precedent for Epic Games holding their pros responsible for what they do on social media. But this wasn't the first time Clix was on thin ice with Epic Games. So let's move on to the Clix incident again. It all started with a normal solo cash cup. All was going great until the stream sniping started. In one game, a stream sniper damaged Clix, so he told him to give him heals or he'd get banned. The stream sniper complied, only to get W-keyed by Clix and killed moments later. It's up for debate whether what happened here was Clix's fault, but most of the community agree that he did nothing wrong. Regardless, Epic Games issued Clix with a 2-week competitive ban, which unfortunately led to Clix missing out on his opportunity to qualify for FNCS Global Championships. And the punishment could have been even worse. But after Clix and his community campaigned the unfairness of the situation, no further punishments were given. Clix has definitely been on the short end of the stick when it comes to Epic making an example. But there was one player that ended up on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, which we'll be covering next in the Peterbot incident. Peterbot has been completely dominating the pro scene for the past couple of years. He and his duo Poyo are regularly contenders for the best Fortnite player of all time. With someone as big in the community as Peterbot, we've learned that you have to be careful with what you say on the internet, because it can come with some crazy consequences. Unfortunately, Peterbot didn't realize this. In August of this year, a video of Peterbot was leaked of him saying some very not family-friendly things. As you'd expect, the community was in outrage, so Peterbot issued a statement. He apologized for the terms he used and the communities he affected, stating he was only 16 years old and being very poorly influenced by the people around him. All around, a pretty good response, had it not been for the fact that it was 100% AI generated. Obviously, all this did was fan the hate. So what did Epic do? Remove his creator code, maybe a 2-week competitive ban? Well, actually, they didn't do anything. Since then, Peterbot has continued to play in official tournaments with pretty much no penalty. But this isn't the only time a Fortnite player has been caught saying stuff like this. But the next one was completely by accident. In the Tfue incident. Tfue has been a huge name in streaming since the early days of Fortnite. After being signed to FaZe early on in his career, it was all uphill from there. At his peak, he even contended with Ninja to be the best Fortnite player at the time. But in May 2018, he said something that could have permanently affected his career. He was streaming Fortnite like normal, when during a fight, he used a slang term to refer to another player as a trash panda. However, the word he used has much worse connotations that Tfue just wasn't aware of. This time though, it wasn't Epic that acted. Instead, Tfue received a 1-month ban from Twitch, which was arguably his main source of income at the time. Luckily for Tfue, Twitch would review their decision and shorten the ban to just 7 days after looking into the context. There are so many more controversies in the Fortnite community, so let me know which ones you would like to see in a part 2. For now, these are all we're gonna cover. So what do you think? Do you think these incidents were blown out of proportion, or do you think the punishments just weren't enough?